This is the story of one of the most secretive societies in the world, an organization so powerful that they've been able to avoid the long arm of the law for decades. An organization with more money than God, whose members have been involved in some of the most heinous crimes imaginable, from murder and drug trafficking to bribery and extortion. This is a secret society whose existence has been kept under wraps for years, until now. In today's video, we are going to expose everything there is to know about this secret organization, how it works, who its members are, and what their ultimate goals are. So sit back, relax, and prepare to be shocked by what you are about to see. The Mafia. The word itself strikes fear into the hearts of many. It conjures up images of brutal violence, shadowy figures pulling the strings from behind the scenes, and a code of silence that is thicker than blood. But despite the fact that the Mafia has been around for centuries, there's still a lot that we don't know about this secretive organization. What exactly is the Mafia, and how does it work? To answer these questions, we need to go back to the beginning. The Mafia as we know it today can trace its roots back to 19th century Italy. At the time, Italy was a newly unified country, and the government was struggling to assert its authority over the various criminal gangs that were operating in the different regions. These gangs were led by powerful bosses who controlled everything from gambling and prostitution to extortion and murder. They were feared and respected in equal measure, and the government was powerless to stop them. However, all of this was about to change with the arrival of one man, a man who would become known as the Godfather. His name was Salvatore Lucania, but he would later take on the alias of Charles Luciano. Luciano was born in Italy, but moved to the United States as a young man. He quickly made a name for himself in the criminal underworld, and soon became one of the most powerful mobsters in New York City. In the early 1900s, Luciano had a brainwave. He realized that the different gangs across the country were all working against each other, and that if they could just band together, they would become even more powerful than they were before. So he started reaching out to the top bosses of the different gangs and inviting them to a meeting. The meeting took place in a small town in upstate New York, and it was here that the foundations of the American Mafia were laid. The bosses agreed to form a secret alliance, and they created a structure that would allow them to pool their resources and work together, to commit crimes that they couldn't have done on their own. They established a hierarchy that is still in place today, with 5 families or clans based in New York: Chicago, New Orleans, Detroit, and Buffalo. Each family was headed by a boss, who in turn answered to a higher authority, the Commission. The Commission was made up of representatives from each of the 5 families, and they were responsible for making sure that everyone stayed in line and that no one family became too powerful. This structure allowed the Mafia to grow in ways that they never had before. They were able to move into new territories and expand their criminal activities to new heights. They also developed a new set of values that emphasized loyalty, secrecy, and above all else, family. And it was this set of values that allowed the Mafia to thrive for decades to come. The 5 families. Now that we understand how the Mafia works, let's take a closer look at the 5 families or clans that make up this secretive organization. The 5 families are the Bonanno crime family, the Colombo crime family, the Gambino crime family, the Genovese crime family, and the Lucchese crime family. Each family is made up of several different crews, which are led by captains who report directly to the boss. The crews are responsible for carrying out the day-to-day operations of the family, and they are the ones who are most likely to come into contact with the police. However, the crews are only the tip of the iceberg. Behind them is a complex web of associates and members who all work together to further the interests of the family. The inner workings of the Mafia are shrouded in secrecy, but we do know that the families are involved in a wide range of criminal activities. They have been linked to drug trafficking, extortion, gambling, money laundering, and murder. In fact, the Mafia has been responsible for some of the most infamous crimes in history. For example, in 1978, 2 mob hitmen were hired to assassinate a former Mafia boss who had turned state evidence. The hitmen lured the boss to a secluded area and shot him dead. It was one of the most brazen acts of violence in Mafia history. Despite the best efforts of the authorities, the Mafia has been able to evade the long arm of the law for decades. This is because they have been able to rely on a complex network of informants, associates, and members who are willing to go to any lengths to protect their way of life. The Mafia has been able to stay one step ahead of the police by using a combination of violence, intimidation, and bribery. They have also been able to take advantage of the fact that many people are simply too afraid to cooperate with the authorities. But despite their success, the Mafia is not invincible. There have been a number of high-profile cases in recent years that have seen members of the five families brought to justice. For example, in 2012, a member of the Bonanno crime family was convicted for his role in a murder. It was a significant victory for the authorities, and it sent a message to other members of the Mafia that they too can be brought to justice. But despite the occasional setback, the five families continue to thrive. They remain one of the most feared and respected organizations in the world, and their influence is felt far and wide. The Commission. Now that we understand the structure of the five families, let's take a look at the Commission, the group that oversees them all. The Commission is made up of a small group of high-ranking members from each of the five families. They meet regularly to discuss important matters affecting the organization as a whole, and to make sure that everyone is working together towards a common goal. The Commission is like a board of directors of a company. They are responsible for making sure that the organization runs smoothly, and that everyone is following the rules. They also have the power to make major decisions that affect the entire organization. For example, they may decide how to respond to a government crackdown, or how to divide up lucrative criminal activities among the five families. Traditionally, the Commission has been very secretive and tight-lipped about their activities. However, in recent years, they've become more open and have even held press conferences to deny rumors and allegations about their involvement in criminal activities. The Commission is made up of some of the most powerful men in the Mafia, and they are not afraid to use their power to get what they want. They have been known to use violence, intimidation, and bribery to achieve their goals. They have a long history of silencing anyone who threatens to expose their secrets. Despite their power and influence, the Commission is not immune to internal conflict. There have been times when the different families have clashed and even gone to war. But despite these internal squabbles, the Commission has always managed to stay one step ahead of the police. So while we may never know everything about the Commission, or the five families that make it up, we do know that they are one of the most secretive and powerful organizations in the world. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.